Welcome back to Restauranttopia. I got Anthony here with Roger Beaudoin. Roger out of Maine. Thanks for joining us once again. This is your third time on the show?
It is.
Fantastic, man. Well, welcome back. We appreciate it as always. And today we're going to talk about restaurant marketing that's trackable. And what was the other one?
Trackable, but costs very little money.
Marketing that's trackable and costs very little money. Well, listen, man, this is right up our alley as consults or stewards of the independent restaurant realm. As you know, we don't have the deep pockets of, say, our corporate competitors that have entire marketing budgets that sometimes surpass the amount of sales that an independent restaurant would do, right? Let alone having the budget to do it. So before I digress too much, Roger, let's dive right into this. What do you got?
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia.
Well, it's all about internal marketing, first of all. I am a huge believer that your staff, I call them your team, and your guests can become raving fans for your business, which obviously costs nothing. It costs you time and an approach in training. But once you have a very well-trained staff, they can literally turn your guests on to your experience. I call it the magical journey, telling people, imagine that every time you open the doors for business, a new customer walks in. How many new customers do you think you get who have never been in your business before because maybe it was lunch or dinner time and they just happened to be driving by, or maybe someone told them to try it, who knows, a variety of reasons. But now is your one opportunity to turn that one guest into a lifetime visitor. There's a lifetime value of a guest or a customer. And you have that one opportunity to either leave them with an amazing impression or not. So that's the first step. But then you want to get those people back again, and again. So, I had this program a long time ago when I owned restaurants. And I believe every restaurant should have what we call cash cows. Because one, they lower your food cost. Two, they have amazing perceived value by the guests. So the plate presentation looks like, oh my gosh. And then obviously the phone comes out and they're taking pictures and they're posting it to social media. So that has a marketing effect to it unto itself. But let's just say the cash cow costs you very little money to put it on the plate in front of the guest. You can charge really good money on it because it looks so amazing. So that's a cash cow. So my very first restaurant was a wood-fired pizza concept, wood-burning brick oven. And we had a product called garlic knots. And you've probably seen these in different pizzerias.
Yeah, of course.
So it was a point of pride that quality mattered. Our ingredients were fresh. We made our own pizza dough fresh every single day from scratch. We made our own sauces every day from scratch. So we had one of those professional dough rolling machines, and we very methodically rolled out a dough that fit one of these pizza pans. And we only had a 12-inch pizza because that was the authentic way that you do it in Italy. We didn't have small, medium, and large. We had a personal pizza, and it would sell more pizza. But nonetheless, when we rolled out a dough, there would always be about a half an inch that when it was rolled out that went around the pizza pan, and the dough is going to rise in the oven anyway. So you take a pizza cutter and we just cut the trimming around the edge. And then I had my staff tie that into little knots, and they'd take out a food quality brush and they'd brush it with olive oil, sprinkle a little minced garlic on top and a little Parmesan cheese. And we'd bake these in the brick oven and they'd rise into these big knots. And we had these metal sort of cones shaped, dishes, for lack of a better word, with, the wax paper in there. And now these garlic knots are spilling out of this cone. And it cost me about 25 cents because the dough is absolutely free. The dough is part of the pizza we're going to sell, right? That the food cost in that dough is already in the next pizza we're going to sell. So the dough is absolutely free. The only cost we had was in a ramekin of the homemade marinara sauce that accompanied the garlic knots. And I figured that cost about 20 cents, maybe 25 cents. And now we're charging $10 for every one of these garlic knot appetizers going out the door. Pure profit, like $9.70 every time you sell an appetizer. Right. And we sold thousands of these. They were so popular. So I got a brilliant idea when I was first building my business. I want to bring in new customers, and I'm going to use the garlic knots. So we printed these coupons, okay? You can see what that says. Absolutely free, stupendous, fantastic, amazing garlic knots, $10 value. So what was the key? Building strategic alliances, I called them, with non-competing businesses within a 5 or a 10-mile radius of my restaurant. So it might be a car wash, a movie theater, a retail store, a bed and breakfast inn. I selected, 5 or 6 of these, walked in the door with this coupon and said, "Hey, I'm Roger, and I just opened this new restaurant, and I'd really like to give your customers a free appetizer if you recommend that they come to my business."
Isn't it
What's that?
funny? We talk about all this high level marketing and all this amazing technology, but
Yeah,
sometimes the most effective means is just to knock on the door and hand some stuff out, right? Like that.
right.
And we talked about word of mouth being effective, but that grassroots campaign of just showing up and just being, "Hey, I'm Roger. It's nice to meet you. Here's some stuff. See you later." Like this
If
so
you're in a
effective.
suburban or a metropolitan area, you can pass these out to Uber and Lyft drivers,
Yeah, brilliant.
and all they have to do is, well, like I did, I tell the business or the service, "Hey, all you got to do is mark the back of the coupon, stamp it with your logo, or write whatever it is, so that when this comes in the door, I can tell where they're coming from. And then I'm going to give you 10% back in trade at my restaurant for every dollar that comes in the door." So this garlic knot cost me 20 or 30 cents to give away. And then I print thousands of these coupons. So it was maybe a half a cent per coupon. So, let's say 32 cents in this. And now I've got 5 or 6 businesses giving these for free to their customers. And these things are coming in the door and I'm tracking them. You know what the check average was on one of these? $75
Stop.
for
Are you serious?
31-cent cost.
That's
And I
amazing.
did this. Oh my gosh. So then I'm like, okay, we got them the first time, but I want to make sure they had a great experience, but I want to make sure they come back. So now we came up with this, lottery fever. I happened to be in a convenience store one day and the 3 people in front of me are buying these scratch off lottery tickets, and you can't get,
Oh, it's the
the
worst.
big
The worst.
jackpot, right?
Yeah,
So,
but just staying in line for 20 minutes waiting for him to
right.
rifle through. Oh my God. Yeah.
But it triggered an idea. I'm like, wow, what if I get my own lottery tickets printed and it's a scratch off, because people love to pull out the quarter. So now I'm going to put this in a check presenter after the people pay their check. And when the server brings the check presenter back with the credit card in it for the guest to sign the check, they're going to give them one of these and say, "Hey, we're having another fun promotion. You might win something." Little did they know, we didn't tell them that every coupon is a winner. And we had probably 6 or 7 of these cash cow ideas that all cost 30 or 40 cents to
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
away. So under each coupon was a cash cow. And they'd instantly say, "Oh, wow, I just won a blah, blah, blah," or whatever it is. They'd put it in their wallet. They'd stick it on the refrigerator under a magnet. And then it would bring them back in for a second visit. And then we started tracking how many of these came back. And what do you think happened again? The average check was 75 or $80 for another 31-cent cost. Unbelievable. Well, the kicker is this. Some of these businesses sent me $15,000 of new business over the course of 3 or 4 months. Business that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And then they're now my biggest fan. And now that business is just recommending me all over town because now they've got $200 in trade to spend. They can bring their wife in for dinner. They can give it to their own employees as an incentive. "Hey, go have dinner on me, blah, blah, blah." And they can sign the check. And people loved that. They felt special. So those were really, really powerful and effective. We did it until we didn't need to do it anymore. We built a business from scratch with grassroots guerrilla marketing like this. And then all of a sudden we're filling the place almost every day of the week and we didn't need to do this anymore. But it was a great Kickstarter to a new business, or it's a new opportunity. You can even write on the coupons, these are only valid, say, on your slowest days of the week. If you need to drive business on a Sunday or a Tuesday or whatever, this is valid on a Sunday or a Tuesday. And eureka,
Yeah.
you're suddenly filling your seats again on days you need the business.
What you said there was especially, I guess, impactful to me. You said we did it until we didn't need to do it anymore.
That's right.
And I love that for a bunch of reasons.
Yeah,
I see a lot
I mean,
of
I
operators
didn't
out
need
there
to
still
give
have daily
anything
specials,
away
right?
anymore.
They're still doing their Tuesday night, Wednesday night.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's it. There's a lot of operators out there still giving stuff away, even though they have the loyal fan base, even though their seats are filled. It's like, okay, you can refocus your marketing efforts to somewhere else, right? You don't have to continue giving away the free stuff all the time, because as we talked about in this show before, is people get addicted to the discounts and then become not loyal to you, they're loyal to the discount, right? So if we tie this into other episodes we recorded with you, it's almost like this ticket gets them into the door, and then they see your majesty of your electric staff and your big smiles and all that hospitality. And then the manager stops by and does an appropriate table check. And then as the guest is leaving, they have a smile on their face because they got said goodbye to about a dozen times. Well, they don't need anything free. They love you now,
I
right?
need to add something to that. You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. But I believe that you can't just sit back and say, okay, that program worked and now I'm busy 7 days a week and everything is great. You have to continue to reinvent yourself. You have to continue to stay relevant. And okay, the garlic knot coupon has been done for 2 or 3 years and people have seen these to death. What's the next thing you're going to do? I've always believed in what they call the amusement park theory. Every year, you need a new ride to keep people coming back for more. So you got to
Well, we're
keep
next to
thinking about,
Cedar Point here in Ohio, so that's a
oh,
big
I've
one.
been there. I've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
there.
Every year, it's the biggest, the fastest, the strongest roller coaster ever, right? And that's
Exactly
a big
right.
tout. Yep.
So, then it became about live entertainment and special events and all that sort of thing. And we would print these concert posters because we'd bring in a bit. Oh, here's something else. My staff really got into the spirit of special holidays, whether that's Valentine's Day or Mardi Gras or Super Bowl or whatever it is. And they'd dress up in football jerseys and they'd have the blackout under their eyes and stuff. And they'd come in and they'd serve the tables and they'd all be dressed in like team uniforms. If it was Mardi Gras, they'd be like wearing purple and gold and beads everywhere. And, we'd have these posters. Oh, that's upside down. This is a Mardi Gras poster, and
Yeah.
we'd
Right.
hang these all over town. It looked like the circus is coming to town. And people would say, hey, what's that? And it would drive business in the door. So it's like constantly doing special events. And then there's one other thing that was probably the biggest business builder. And it's not for everyone, but if you serve draft beer, whether you've got a coffee shop selling coffee or you sell draft beer and you've got a bar, nothing is more powerful than creating a mug club, because it's an exclusivity thing where people feel like that's my place, that's my clubhouse. They pay a membership fee to have the privilege of having a mug that has your logo on it and that sort of thing. It could be completely sponsored by someone that you do business with. So it has absolutely no cost to the business. And let me give you an example. We started out small. Maybe we brought 20 mugs in just to see how they would do. And they sold out like in an afternoon, and now it's starting to grow. When I sold my business in 2014, I don't know where we put them. The mugs were absolutely everywhere, but we had 1,200 people that paid us $50 a year to belong to our mug club. And that was
Hey,
about
not bad.
$60,000 in free and clear cash. And what can you do with an extra 10,000, 20, 30, sixty
Right,
thousand
right.
bucks, right? You can do a lot of stuff with that. But the kicker was this: when people used to come in maybe twice a month, now they belong to the club and they're in 2 and 3 times a week. And the
Yeah.
spending went up exponentially. And
Funny how
then
that
they
works, right?
they invited their friends and their family. Hey, you got to join this. And therein lies the aura building we talked about. You're building an aura around your business. You're treating people like they're VIPs and they're special. And it was not, I don't know how my bartenders got to know so many of these people on a first name basis, obviously because they came in so often. But whenever somebody walked through the door, one of my bartenders would recognize that mug club member when they were 50 feet away. There was a big bell behind the bar. Bing, 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 bing. The person walks through the crowd. Now the bartender is pouring that person's favorite beer, committed to memory. And then even if there was a huge crowd in there, then all the other mug club members that knew this person would pass his beer through the crowd. Like that's service, right? Nobody's waiting for a
Oh,
beer.
that's
It's like
fun.
everyone's treated like a VIP, and therein lies
Yeah.
some more super service that builds a business. But we did all
No,
those
I love that.
things.
And it's so easy and so free, right? I've seen it with like bourbon lockers and wine clubs and things like that. I've never seen
All
it
of
done
those
with a beer
things work.
stein or a beer mug,
Right,
but I
right.
love it because that exclusivity,
Hmm.
there's something to be said about that, right? And we've talked about how it's important to know the owner and how everybody loves that feeling, but
Yeah.
feeling like you're a part of something, like it's your own special thing is really magnetizing, right? It's like it pulls people and there's a lot of gravity there. A lot of gravity.
Well,
I love that. So
in our
let's
other episode, we talked about that Cheers formula, and that is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely the crux of it. It's like people want to go where they're recognized, where they're known, where they feel they're treated special.
Well, and
And
that's
that
kind
is
of
a
hospitality
simple
101.
hospitality 101. Exactly.
Right.
Treating everyone like you want to be treated. It's
So
a
let's
beautiful
let's
thing.
let's talk with the lottery tickets, with the beer mug.
Yeah.
How did you know, or the Mardi Gras poster? How did you know when something was a great idea, whether to keep perpetuating it or just say, you know what, this was an unmitigated failure, this is a dumb idea, let's throw it away and start over?
Well, I'm not saying I haven't had failures. Everything in this business is about experimentation. And sometimes you land on a really magical idea that just takes off and it works, and sometimes you don't. You know, I'll remember to this day. I started my first wood-fired pizzeria. It was an overnight success, but it was in a lease space. and it was a difficult, challenging space, and the location wasn't great, and the roof leaked, and the landlord was challenging. And I always knew that I needed to create my own destiny. I needed to own my property, not be beholding to some landlord in an average space. So after doing this business for 2 years, I bought a piece of property and I built a building in a much better location. And now it's a new restaurant, and people are creatures of habit. And I'll never forget standing in the window after this place grand opening. And for weeks and weeks, I would stand in the window, and it was kind of depressing because for every 40 cars that drove by my location, one would pull in, and then another 40 or 50 cars would drive by. And it took time to build the business. And I had to put my creative hat on and figure out all these things we talked about to really get people to try the experience, enjoy the experience, bring people back, and then the constant evolution, that amusement park theory of keep doing new things. I mean, we had a disco dance club with the full sound system and the disco ball and the lights and the magic, and we'd bring DJs in. And the dance floor would be empty for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we'd pay the guy to sit up there and spin music. And I'd walk into the room and I'd just kind of hit myself in the head saying, this isn't working. So things you wouldn't know unless you tried, and you can't be afraid to experiment. But it's like fail fast, fail cheap. Whatever you come up with shouldn't cost you a fortune that you take a big risk on and bet the farm on it like it's going to be huge, and then it just doesn't pan out. Make sure whatever those experiments are, you kind of test the waters and it's not very expensive. And if it works, then you can invest in it and make it better. So yeah, fail fast, fail cheap would be
I love that.
Hard lessons from my own experience. I've had failures for sure.
Do you know who Jesse Cole is?
No, I haven't heard that name.
So he's the owner of Savannah Bananas.
Oh, cool name. Savannah Bananas.
Are you familiar with them at all?
I'm not, no.
So I implore you and anybody listening to check these people out.
I will.
He wrote a book on this. So he bought a stadium down in Georgia, he and his wife. He was the general manager of a AA or AAA minor league baseball team.
Okay.
And he found a stadium in Savannah, and I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but he ended up buying it from the city. And he rehabbed a little bit, and him and his wife were broke. They're sleeping on the floor, a typical story, eating Domino's pizza every night because that's all they were, $5 Little Caesars or whatever, because that's all they could afford.
Sure.
And they just had blind faith. And what he's created now is a national sweetheart. And you keep hearing more and more and more about this team. But he's basically just shirked all tradition. He's a baseball diehard. He said, this game is boring. I got to reinvent it. But he's done like wild things. Like it's all about his mantra or his mission statement is fan first, always fan first, no matter what, right? But for every amazing idea that he's getting national accolades for, he has 10 absolutely failed ideas. But he goes back to, his team, and he empowers them to come up with crazy ideas. And they do such fun things at the stadiums. Like the one thing, and I'll never get over this, and this was a failed idea, but this is where his head's at. So in the first inning, they invited a handful of fans down on the field to have a bean burrito eating contest, right? Whoever could eat the most bean burritos got another ticket or something, I don't know, some sort of prize. But in the seventh inning, they brought those same fans down to the field to have a farting contest. And that's the kind of just wild and zany stuff he was bringing to the stadium.
Outrageous, huh?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that one didn't work. But for that one, there was a couple that did. And again, if you watch any of their clips on YouTube, you'll be amazed at what he's done. One of the things he did was all inclusivity. So as a parent, he hated going to amusement parks or stadiums because at every juncture he had to shell out his wallet and pay for something. And he's like, man, this is painful. This is painful. This is painful. And it erodes the experience. So what he did was like, you know what? $40 a ticket. Once you get in, everything's free. Right? Except for merchandise, of course. But you want pop, you want hot dogs, you want chips, anything you want, free. Don't break out your wallet at all. Just pay for the ticket. And everything's all inclusive once you get in. And so he had 10 bad bean burrito ideas, but then came up with this all-inclusive idea. And now that's one of his rising stars. They're sold out for years to come. They don't stop. But he's on LinkedIn and very, very accessible. But this guy is magic when it comes to what you're talking about, the lottery tickets. And he's tried things. And again, just throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks, man. That's really what it comes down to. And to your point, if it fails, it fails. You flush it and you move on. You don't harp on it. You don't invest a ton in it. You pilot it. Done and done. Doesn't work. Yeah. Move on.
I think in one of our prior episodes, we talked about empowering your team to come up with ideas and encouraging their own ideas.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I never sat back and said, yeah, I'm the only idea generator around here. It's like, hey, what do you got? Let me know. My door's always open. You got a crazy wild idea? Let me hear it, and if it works, I'll give you a piece of the action, if it proves to work. So
that's it. And that's what he does. He actually, one of his things that went viral, he created the world's smallest bookstore. So he had an old
No
janitor
way.
closet in one of the midways. And he's like, yeah, this closet doesn't do us any good. So they remodeled it, put some new drywall on, put a cash register in there. And then there's one shelf that has one book. And it's the book he wrote about how him and his wife started this team. And they carry one item. That's it. And it can only fit one customer. But now it's become a draw. There's a line of
That's
like 100
cool.
people. Right.
And
But
it
there's a
sells
line of
you
100
just put
people.
one more book on the shelf.
That's
And
it.
it's the
Right.
same book.
They got one item. That's it. And it's so funny. Something so stupid and so simple now is a national phenomenon. People come to the games just for that. And that's part of it. They take selfies and they'd say, I've been to the world's smallest bookstore. But it just goes to show you that any idea, no matter how zany, is worth a shot. It's worth a shot, right? Like, why not?
Well, that brings up another idea. It's like every restaurant has a concept or a theme. So you build a diorama photo op with the little face cutouts like a la the carnival, right? And you just set it up in a place right in, that's visible. And you'd be surprised at how many people are going to come up and take a silly photo in your diorama if it's painted by a nice artist and it's interesting and post that on social media. It's like free marketing. We did that too. It's like these are little ideas. They're simple to execute, but they really work.
Yeah, and that's the funniest thing. And they're cheap, right? And if they fail fast, right? Is what you said.
Move on.
That's it, man. I love it. Well, listen, Roger, this is great, man. I love boiling this down into simple stuff. I love the lottery ticket.
I love it too.
I love the traceability of it, more importantly, because then I know where my marketing dollars go. And as an operator, so many times we subscribe to these services or marketers or did this and did that. And it was kind of just like, we think it's working. We think this might be why we're busy, but we're not sure.
Right.
So
we'll know.
We'll keep doing it. But to your point, when you can invent little things like this or impart little things like this that are trackable and traceable, then you know which ideas are or are not working. And that helps you serve your target audience much better in a much effective manner. That's going to really impact your top line and bottom line.
That's exactly true. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Roger, thank you so much for your time today, man. Where can we find you at?
RestaurantRockstars.com is my main URL. And then we have a special staff training app that is also available for more information or a free demo at srvnow.com. The app is called SERVE, but it's an acronym for Study Restaurant Variety. So it's spelled srvnow.com. You can find me at either place.
Love it. And it's powerful stuff, man. Well, listen, thanks again for sharing your wisdom insights. I know we appreciate it, as do our listeners. Appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day, brother.
Thanks very much. Stay well, everyone.
This is a high quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Restaurantopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restaurantopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you and have a great day.
We are excited to announce the Restaurantopia VIP Text Club. Join by texting the word podcast to 844-928-4257. You will get access to exclusive content, industry news, deals, announcements, pro tips, and more. The VIP Text Club is an exclusive community of independent restaurant owners and professionals. Join today. Message and data rates may apply. Please check our website for our terms of service and privacy policy.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Hillcrest Food Service. If you are a local independent restaurant and are looking for a distributor who has chef and operational consulting, provides marketing support, does menu reviews, and most importantly, wants you to be successful, reach out to Hillcrest Food Service at hillcrestfoods.com.